Hello and welcome to the third and final part of this tutorial on interacting with objects in Blender. So we're going to quickly talk about changing the size of an object, and then, since you'll know everything about objects transformations, we'll be able to do a little kitbashing together. So let's see how to change size. We'll say scale to go faster. So we start like others' videos, by selecting our Gauss flare, and then look for the Scale tool here. Scale's gizmo is very simple. Either we choose an axis to deform the object, or we choose two axes and we also deform the object. We call that a non-uniform scale. If we use the white circle, we use the three axes, and so here we change the size, but we don't deform. We call that a uniform scale. A non-uniform scale can be useful if you want to keep the size of an object on only one or two axes. For example, let's imagine that we want to change the diameter of the base, but that we don't want to change the thickness. We then make a non-uniform scale on X and Y axis, and we change the diameter, but the thickness, which depends on Z axis, is kept. The uniform scale is used to change the scale of an object keeping proportions on each axis. For example, if we find that the head here is a little too big or a little too small, we can adjust by doing a uniform scale. The shortcut is the S key, like scale, and by default we trigger a uniform scale. But if we want to make a non-uniform scale, we can always choose an axis by pressing one of the X, Y, or Z keys. We can also use the middle mouse button to snap the deformation to one of the three axes. There you go, it was pretty quick. So now let's see a small use case to practice moving, rotating, and scaling to conclude this video series about transforming objects. We will simply replace the warrior's head with another head, a head that we downloaded from a website like Cults 3D, for example. Let's start by importing the head. Nothing could be simpler. Go to the File menu, Import, and there you can choose a file format. The head I have is in STL format, so I choose STL, then pick the file. And here is the new head. Before replacing the head, I will put the warrior in another position. Don't worry, I'll explain later what I'm going to do. But basically I've already saved different poses in my file, so I can apply any of those poses like that. So the first thing to do is to orient the head correctly according to our warrior's orientation. So with the object selected, we choose the rotation tool, but there we notice that the gizmo is very far from the head. It is because the gizmo is positioned on the object's origin, and this origin looks to be at the center of the world rather than to be on the object. Remember, in previous tutorial we learned objects rotates around their origin, the little orange dot. So here it is still doable for a simple rotation, but to position the object with a gizmo, it will become complicated. This happens very often when working with exported and imported objects. So I'll show you how to fix that and place an object's origin correctly. With the object selected, we will go to Object menu, Set Origin, and choose Origin to Object Center of Mass Volume. There we go. Blender has determined the center of the object and placed the origin there. And the gizmo positioned itself on this origin. So then to turn the head in the right direction, we need to make a rotation. So we use the R key on the keyboard. We will rotate from right to left. So we will use Z key to turn around Z axis. And there, Rather than trying to turn our head 90 degrees by hand, we can simply type 90 with the numpad. So here it looks like we had to turn our head minus 90 degrees instead of 90, but we don't need to cancel anything. We can just use the minus key on the keyboard, and Blender will understand that we want to reverse the direction of the spin. And then, we can validate the rotation with a left click. Now we are going to change the scale of the head, which seems a little too big. So let's set a view almost from the front, a view where we see both the warrior and the new head. Then press S key to do a uniform scale. I'm just going to roughly adjust the size of the head. We can come back to scale later. Now we're going to say goodbye to the old head by selecting it and deleting it with the X or delete key. And we're going to place the new head. So first, we adjust the view a little. Then with the G key, we move the object. And with the help of different points of view, we can precisely adjust head's position on the neck. We zoom out a bit to get an overview, and there we realize that the head is still a little too big, so we can adjust it with the S key. And there you go, it doesn't look too bad like that. Well, we could stop there. But we are going to change the orientation of the head a little bit so that it looks more natural, though the head is straight, and there is no reason for that. So with the head selected, we use the R key twice to switch to 3D rotation mode, so the head will orient itself towards mouse cursor. It's not bad. But the head doesn't turn naturally. It should turn around the neck, and not around itself like here. In order to go quickly earlier, we automatically place the origin of the object to its center of mass by using this tool. But we can also manually place the origin of an object with much more precision. And so, to be precise, first of all I'm going to show you how to isolate the head and the neck, so that the other objects don't disturb us. We will see it much more clearly. So to do this, we first select objects we want to isolate. So the head is already selected. To select the neck, hold down the Shift key and click on the neck. Then use the slash or colon key on the keyboard, and presto, all other objects are now hidden. And on top of that, Blender is really nice. It has centered the view on isolated objects. So now we can change the position of the head's origin. To do this, select the head and go to this menu, the option menu. In this menu, you can say that the transformation will only affect one of these three things. And so if we check origin, whether we do a move, a rotation, or a scale, it won't affect the object, but only the origin. So we can move the origin towards the neck. This time we use the gizmo because we want to move the origin only on Y and Z axis, in order to keep the origin well centered on the X axis. And there you go, the origin is now well placed on the neck. Don't forget to uncheck the origin box and exit isolation mode by hitting the slash or colon key again. And now you can orient the head using the double R shortcut, and this time the head turns well around the neck, which is much more natural. There you go, we finished our kit bashing. I hope that you feel now more comfortable with Blender, and that for those who have projects in mind, you will be able to start working on your own models. We still have a few fundamentals to see together in next videos, but gradually we will be able to do more and more creative things. Thank you for watching this video and see you soon.